Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Hello and welcome to Set Phasers, a festive podcast edition.
A very special episode of Set Phasers.
You are in quite the good spirits, my friend. Someone is very festive today.
Tis the season of Sukkot.
Da, 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 da. Sorry, I didn't have any music to add to that.
Whatever, fine. Well, I'll do it for myself. Stardate 31227.4. Welcome to Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast. Today we are discussing episode 11 of season 3 of Star Trek Discovery, entitled mysteriously Sukkot.
Indeed.
An episode in which everything that could go wrong does go wrong.
It's great. It was like the episode at Christmas.
Wonderful.
The gift that keeps on giving was this episode. Wonderful.
That's right. It was the giving tree. It was the Christmas Carol. There's so much that happens. Our questions are getting answered, and yet
We have more questions.
we are being thrown for a loop. Right.
More questions.
Well, I sip coffee from my Set Phasers brand mug, and I say, let us run it down.
Oh, you enjoy that, don't you?
It's time to run it down. I do.
Can you run it down for me? Tell me what just happened. Can you run it down for me?
Yes, it is Sunday afternoon, and we took a break from our usual schedule because Friday was
Christmas, and
the Yuletide.
Even though we were celebrating it socially distanced, one had too much eggnog to consider doing a show on Friday.
Yes, and one also after dark had too much eggnog, far too much eggnog.
Yes.
It wasn't the eggnog actually.
Did you have eggnog too?
'Twas the bourbon. I did. I had eggnog. Yes.
So you have yours with bourbon?
I had mine with bourbon and cinnamon, and this year,
Oh, delightful.
Mexican chili powder. I don't know. I was just pulling things out of the cupboard.
I did mine with Kahlua and dark rum.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Quite delightful.
Look at you. I wish you would share that recipe with me.
It was what I had in the
Well, now I'll
fridge.
get all the knockoff eggnog. Now that the season has passed, I'll get all the discount eggnog from CVS or something.
great.
Some Kahlua. Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, I'll have a
Yeah, it was nice.
joyous New Year's
give it a
Eve.
little-
Yes. Okay.
Little something extra there.
To the
Anyway,
show.
we
to the
digress.
show. All right. So we begin episode 11 precisely where episode 10 rather, left off. We begin with Giorgio's wake and Gray returns. These are some interesting things. Like it's a lot of as we said, like untied together threads. Adira is standing there with Stamets, and then Gray returns. And Gray basically says, oh, I was feeling disconnected. I didn't know how to be because I'm not quite human, but I'm not quite a shadow, and only you can see me. And then they're like, well, we're going to deal with this together. But then the computer alerts everyone to the fact that they've gotten some information from the Kiev that Kelpian ship that maybe was at the origin of the burn 150 years ago or something like that. And there appears to be a life sign on the Kiev. And they're all thinking, who's it? The doctor? How could they have lived that long? And Saru goes, ha 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 ha. The marks on Dr. Isa's head that you thought were radiation? Oh no, they are an indication that she was pregnant. So who remains? The child. Yes. So.
Is that a dun?
The baby. So Disco decides to go to the Veruba Nebula. They fly out there. They head in. There's like a 200 kilometer storm. Kilometer? I don't know. I'm American. And there I don't know how to say these words.
Convert that to miles and then let's start again.
A 1.17
1 points.
grables. It's a lot of parsecs. So they head in there. They try to fly in. It's pretty crazy. They can't get there. The ship starts coming apart. So Book decides, hey, you know what? I'll go in there and use my ship as a scout. You can. Yeah, go ahead.
You want to use the
Are you
boogie?
about to? Why not?
Yeah. Looks like Discovery's having a little trouble with this radiation and ion storm. Thank God I'm here. Happy to jump in there and be your scout. Not to worry. I'll come right back. Aw, yeah.
Yes. And so the whole bridge crew sings that song, and then Book winks, and he teleports to his ship. And so Book is able to fly in because his ship has like fancy morphing stuff, so it can change its shape, so it can move around through all the stuff. Disco jumps out, and Book is able to find like a pocket, the planet, and a pocket where Disco could jump in, so he can send back those coordinates. But his radiation is like off the charts, and he basically passes out, and the autopilot has to take over. But he'll be fine. Culber says not to worry, just needs to spend a couple hours doing the treatment. The data shows that the Kiev crashed into a planet. Sure, that makes sense. But the planet is made of dilithium.
Sorry, I wasn't sure about that one.
No, I wasn't sure either. I just thought we would go for it. So they're like, the source of the burn is a planet made of dilithium. That's weird. A planet?
A planet?
That's a lot of
whole
dilithium.
planet?
Then we hit the credits. Okay, so thankfully, I was kind of worried about this. Saru does report it to Vance. And Vance is like, listen, if you can safely recover the Kelpien or the life sign, and you can figure out what's going on with this planet, then go ahead and do it. But you should know that the Emerald Chain is flying towards the Kelpian planet, and they're going to do some military exercises over there. And Saru, indicative of the fact that he's having a little trouble letting go, is like, we can go there now. And he's like, wait a second, don't you remember that's how they lured Book out? So I think you should stay on task. And Vance is like, we'll take care of the planet. Okay. But then Saru decides he's going to be on the away team. So it's the away team is going to be Saru, Michael, because she's a xenoanthropologist. She seems to know anthro doesn't really work because that means human, but whatever. She's a xenobiologist and also does sociology and culture of aliens. And Dr. Culber, because of all the crazy radiation. They're going to fly down there. And before they go, Michael confides in Book that she's worried about Saru's objectivity. And Hugh has to basically explain to Stamets that he's got to go, that he feels like in this new future, he has a purpose after having been lost. And let me tell you something. I want to go on the record right now. If Dr. Culber dies,
again,
I will wear black for a full year. I will never recover.
I don't think they'd let him go.
I really hope not. He's just a joy.
He's the cream in the Oreo.
Yeah, he's the glue that holds everyone. The glue. So Tilly and Michael talk, and Michael gives Tilly some advice because Saru's going to be gone, and guess who's got the con? None other than Tilly herself. So Tilly, who's first mate, who's number one, first officer, she will have the con. And so Michael gives her some advice, and she says to Tilly, you belong in that chair, Tilly. So Disco jumps into the pocket. The radiation levels go through the roof. The away team beams down. They jump back out because it's going to take 3 hours to repair the shields. They need to be back in 4 hours or the away team will die. So that's the basic plan. What could go wrong? Nothing. After the transport, and this is why I said this is the most jacked up holodeck episode ever. Michael is a Trill.
Yeah.
Hugh is Bajoran. And Saru is human. He's Doug Jones, basically.
Yeah.
I always love episodes of Star Trek where the people who have to wear the huge prosthetics you get to see their real faces. Yeah. And they're like acting and they act, you're like, whoa, that's their voice, but it's not coming out of a 7.5 foot tall alien. Anyway.
Did you notice though with him that even when he was human, he still walked? He did that thing with his hands behind his back.
He did the physicality, which I thought was a brilliant choice.
But so then you wonder whether it's innate as
you
a
think
habit.
Doug
or
Jones just walks around like that?
Maybe no. I meant the character. Thank you so much.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
I think even though your physicality changes, you don't know. You thought, oh, maybe it was like involuntary because of the Kelpian body, but maybe it's
just
like a muscle thing.
Yeah, just the way you walk.
There was that cool moment when they're in they first go into that weird tower and they're looking down, and Saru says, do humans have an adverse reaction to heights? Because my heart is pounding. Because I guess as a Kelpian, heights don't terrify him. But as a human, he was having a physiological response. So I don't know. Interesting questions. I'm sure they'll be answered. We have plenty of time. Anyway, they're walking around. They're in a forest. They run into a holo program that's talking about how to repair replicators. It's kind of on the fritz. It says it's used for training. They head to the tower. Once they get into the tower, their clothes have changed again. So if this is a holodeck program, it's very advanced because it's able to change their appearance, not only their appearance, but what they're actually wearing, I think, because they lose their equipment. They don't have their medicine that they brought down with them for the radiation, and they don't have their tricorders or anything. So they're kind of just wearing what the program has put upon them. They see an area that looks like an interesting ritual. There's a barred door, and they find a Kelpien. But as soon as they start talking to the Kelpien, the door bang, 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 jangles, and the Kelpien's really freaked out, and they think it's the kid, the child, if you will. And they realize when the Kelpien runs away that he must have grown up alone in these programs, just on a holodeck, that this was a world. And he might know nothing but the program. And so he's probably somewhat socially stunted in terms of his growth. And I wonder if the child whose name we find out is the name of the episode, Sukal, has gone through Viharai or not. It's never really discussed.
Yeah, that's not really revealed.
Mm-hmm. So Survivor runs away. They're going to treat it as first contact because he's probably had no real social interaction other than holograms. The door opens and smoke comes out and the Kelpien runs. Saru and Hugh will follow the Kelpien and try to make contact. And Michael, of course, is going to take on the monster because she's crazy. Meanwhile, on Disco, Stamets is leading the charge to fix all the shields. And they hear something from the team, but it's kind of weird and garbled. And then they find out that there's a ship approaching. But the ship won't respond to hails. It's Federation, apparently, and it's 10 minutes away. Back down to the crazy planet. They interact with some holograms. The holograms say, are you the anticipated input, the rescue? Say they have been taking care of the child. And their appearances have been changed so as not to alarm the child because it has only experienced the types of creatures or races that exist within the program. Meanwhile, M battles the monster. It looks kind of like a Kelpien, but with like kelp, shadow, mist tendrils spitting off of it and so on and so forth. And she tries to communicate. It almost works, but then it freaks out and chases her. And she runs back into the tower. And then she falls off a ledge. And then she falls up. And that's weird. Meanwhile, back on the ship, they find out by looking at the ship's like what's going on around the ship, not the ship itself, but like it's whether or not it's cloaked or has some kind of disguise, that it's not Federation. And it's using a transwarp tunnel. And it's Ossyra's ship. And there's a face-off. And then both ships go dark. They go cloak, because everyone can cloak now. Cloak is the thing. So Michael wakes up on the ground, and she's with the Kelpian child, Sukal. And so she pretends to be a program that's supposed to teach him about social interaction. She finds out that he's scared of the outside, so Michael begins teaching him. Meanwhile, Saru and Hugh encounter a hollow of a Kelpian elder in what maybe is the living area. And they find a painting, and that's how they discover that the child's name is Sukal, which means something like beloved gift. Apparently a common name for Kelpiens after a family has experienced a period of tragedy. It symbolizes the end of suffering. And yet, I'm not sure this Sukal's going to be that kind of deal. They speak to the elder, It was created by Dr. Isa in order to raise Sukal. So Michael's talking to Sukal, meanwhile, wherever she is. And every time she asks him about the outside or about family or whatever, he freaks out. She pretends to reset. He freaks out again. And then they start to he runs away. And Michael's got radiation burns because it's been like 2 hours. And if they're there for too long, they're definitely going to die. And the elder tells Saru that when Sukal is afraid, he goes to the fortress. So Hugh goes to the fortress. Saru stays with the elder. He listens to a lullaby. He reads some of the things in the book. He finds the totems that are built to protect Sukal from his fears, because there is apparently a folkloric monster among the Kelpiens called the Monster of Kelp, and it represents the greatest fears. And apparently Sukal has like sort of brought it into being somehow, interacting I don't know how to describe it, intellectually with the program. And has created this monster. And if he doesn't confront this eidolon of his greatest fears, then the program will trap him there, and apparently also the entire away team. So back on the ship, things are going smoothly. Ossyra contacts Tilly, and we get a little bit of what I'd like to call Tilly time.
Tilly, don't be silly. Tilly, space is wide. Clearly it gets chilly. Tilly, it's your time.
Oof, I would really watch that sitcom of just Tilly just running around.
It does sound very fun.
disco.
It sounds a bit like Tilly's in charge of our days and our
Exactly.
lives. That
It's
one.
like Tilly just solving problems, you
Yeah.
know, everything's going haywire, and she's like, got to talk everyone out of there, which is basically what Tilly does.
That's basically what happens in this
Uh,
episode.
It's just that life and death are on the line. So Ossyra calls Tilly, tries to intimidate her, but guess what? Tilly's been hanging out with Giorgio from the Mirror Universe for like a year and a half, so not intimidated. Basically she's like, listen, you're never going to take this ship or the crew or our spore drive, so go teach your grandmother how to suck eggs. Meanwhile, Michael is down, finds Sukal making totems, and Sukal, the monster shows up, and then Sukal is upset that the monster is there, and then Hugh and Saru show up, and Saru is able to what happens is Sukal gets upset, and then it's hard to describe. He gets mad, and some sort of shockwave bursts from him, and it bursts out from the planet and through the nebula and hits both ships and knocks their cloaks out and causes their dilithium to go unstable really quickly, really fast. And that's when everyone starts to sort of realize, is Sukal the reason for the burn?
Possibly.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
I think that's a
that is a dun, dun,
dun,
dun.
I think. You know what? Let's take that back again. And that's when everyone realized that maybe Sukal is the reason for the burn. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was
We did great. That was wonderful. I did. You know, we're right here sometimes. Okay, so the disco is not ready to jump. Their shields are still totally jacked up, and Ossyra has locked weapons once they all appear. And Tilly tells Stamets, all right, here's what we got to do. You got to get into the spore cube. Shields are at 54%. We got to jump away. Once again, oh yeah. Book says, hey, I'll jump in there and find out what's going on with the away team, and I'll fly them back here while you guys, jump away and repair your shields, because you can't stay here. And Ossyra's got her guns aimed at you. So Book once again jumps on the ship. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to anybody, Adira has a plan, and they go over to Jet and say, can I use your comm badge for a plan? It's not really clear what happens here, but
It was a bit
somehow
quick.
Adira ends up on Book's ship. I guess Adira used the comm badge to do a personal transport to Book's ship.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm not sure why Adira needed Reno's badge, but
Yeah, I didn't. Maybe because Reno was in the lab and Reno was was close by to say, hey, can I borrow your comm badge so I can transport? Does Adira not have their own badge?
I feel like Adira does have their own badge, although I can't remember right now, but maybe it's like a security clearance. The point is, Adira has a plan. And So we don't know exactly what Adira's plan is, but they think that everyone will die if the plan is not enacted. Dun, dun, dun. Meanwhile, back on the planet, Saru begins singing the lullaby to Sukal, which causes Sukal to calm down. And they almost have a moment of connection, but then, calm as he is, Sukal just leaves, just runs away. Meanwhile, Ossyra hails Tilly again. Tilly says she will self-destruct Discovery before letting Ossyra take the ship. Book clears the dock. Tilly orders the jump, but just as that happens, Emerald Chain fighters transport into the Spore Cube and prevent Stamets from getting his hands into this cool neurogel thing that Adira made. And then they put things on his thing and make his eyes go white, like that time he was crazy inside the what do you call it, mycelial network. And then the ship, like Osiris ship, sends these weird tethers, I
snake.
guess,
They're like snake things. They're like
snaky
Medusa
things.
snake
Not
things.
unlike the what the kelp monster had. Very kelp
Oh, that's
monster-esque.
true, yeah.
Mirrors.
Mirrors.
You must face your fear. Anyway,
That will go well in the podcast edit, by the way. Mirror, mirror.
well, listen, I apologize for you. You just kind of let me off the Emerald Chain, so I do whatever I want.
Don't say the Emerald
and
Chain, because then I do that, and I should not. We should not use this too liberally.
You'll never break that Emerald Chain.
Oh, yeah.
Am I right? Okay.
You'll never break me.
You'll never break me. I'm the Emerald Chain.
Okay,
So
so
well
Book
done.
heads into space. He gets into the area around the planet. He's able to talk to the away team. Apparently, Sukal's outburst was like the burn. Everyone's wondering if he caused it. Culber suggests that the radiation and etc. has altered Sukal, maybe in utero, being in that planet, trapped there with his family. But also there is some sort of, and I underlined this with red twice and put a question mark and an exclamation point, also some sort of trigger may have caused Sukal to cause the first burn. Question. So they got to leave because, Discovery, Ossyra, but they have to stay because Sukal, the burn, destroy everything again, right? So Saru asks Michael to stay because she's the xenobiologist, but then Michael's like, I can't stay. You're the Kelpien. You got to stay. And Saru's like, I'm the captain. And Michael's like, listen, Tilly can take care of things. I'll be there to help Tilly. You got to prevent another burn from happening. And then Culber's like, I'm going to stay too because I know what it's like to be alone in a crazy world. So I'm staying around. And Michael says, all right, I'll come back for you. Meanwhile, Michael says, I'll come back for you. And Culber says, if it takes more than a day, then there's no point in coming back. That's all you need to know. Meanwhile, on Book ship, Adira shows up as a stowaway, transports down to give the meds to the away team so that they can last. But when Michael transports up to Book, they are not able to wait for Adira to return. So I think Adira is also still on the planet. I have no confirmation thereof, but I'm pretty sure we never saw Adira go back up to Book ship. Michael and Book fly like the wind back through the crazy radiation and the storm and everything. And they get outside of the nebula just in time to see Ossyra take Disco and Spore drive on out of there. Jump away with the ship. And that is the end of episode 11 of season 3 of Star Trek Discovery.
Awesome.
Sukal.
Sukal.
Anyway, pretty exciting stuff.
It was incredibly exciting. There was just and I loved seeing Doug Jones for the
Bob Jones.
not for the first time. We know what he looks like, but it's one of the rare times where he is seen on screen as himself. I think apparently he has been seen on screen as himself, but in sort of commercials and not really like big
Like
screen
in
productions or movie
real
things like that.
features.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
that was really cool.
It's basically, they took the traditional holodeck episode and they ratcheted up the stakes like 1,000,000,000% because even in Elementary My Dear Data from TNG, when Moriarty becomes sentient and starts taking over the ship, that's the holodeck episodes you love because they stakes get high.
Yeah.
This was holodeck, but not on the ship, plus super duper fancy holodeck that changes your clothes that you can't escape from, and it's broken. And they're trying to find someone who may or may not cause an intergalactic calamity to happen. So hurrah there. But also, you get to see a Bajaran Culber, and you get to see a not Kelpian, a Trill Michael. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting that it was just throwback to those races we used to see quite frequently. I don't know. I just don't know how this is. We only have 2 episodes left.
Yeah.
One on New Year's Eve and one on the 7th of January. And I'm just not sure how they're going to wrap this up. Obviously, I think the next episode is going to have to be Michael and Book. Oh, please tell me it's this. Michael and Book together secretly infiltrate Discovery and lead the crew to take back over the ship as the ship has black alerted back to Federation headquarters, because there is a scene in the next time where we saw Ossyra in headquarters facing off with Admiral Vance. I think it's going to be a pretty exciting episode.
Yeah. What did you think of the Ossyra and Tilly facing off?
Oh, for me, it was like very satisfying just
Mhm.
because I love Tilly so much. But
She was
did
clearly
feel like-
shaken. There was a little bit of
who, Tilly?
yeah.
No, I didn't get that. I think she,
With the
in the
insecurity,
end, was
she poked at the insecurity of you're not captain material. And secretly, Tilly
I don't
still,
think Tilly
I think
has
she
that
feels
issue.
that. I think she still feels that a bit.
I personally feel like Tilly has been forged, hardened by Giorgio. I don't think Tilly is like deeply affected by those things. Obviously, you have to bluff a little bit, but I don't think she like was truly having a crisis of faith. She was like, "Listen, I will."
No, look,
I
I
don't wanna go
disagree
all the way to my
completely.
quotes.
I disagree.
But she was like, "I'll
completely.
blow this ship up before I let you take it."
Yeah, so that was bluffing. But this is Tilly's first moment as acting captain.
Wait, you think that was bluffing?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't
think
bluff, but
Tilly
it was
would've-
posturing. It was certainly posturing. I don't think she
was
knew
definitely
if she was
posturing.
bluffing. But this is Tilly's first moment as acting captain. And she's, having to face off with somebody. And then ultimately she's going to lose the ship. And she's going to go, oh, this is my first time as acting captain and I completely, messed it up. Should I
But
really
then
be the
she's
first
going to
person?
realize that listen, she's going to
Yes,
turn it around.
Later she'll turn it
I
around. But
don't
right
think- I
now,
think
I think she
you're-
feels like fraud.
No, I think that's too
Okay.
harsh. Tilly a
Alright.
fraud? I reject
Everyone
the
has
premise
imposter
of that
syndrome.
theory. Well, sure, she's not the captain. She's definitely an ensign. She's worried about her
Right.
position. But there's no question that she handled this better than, in my opinion, Saru would have handled it.
I don't know if there was. Is there another way it could have been handled?
Well, there's, it's about the 2 different. I wasn't planning on complying here, but
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it really gets into the 2 different types of captaining, right? You've got your.
Kapla corner.
I'm trying to
on.
keep it as unranty as possible. Okay, fine. It's about the 2 different kinds of captaining. You got your Picard style, diplomatic, level-headed, thoughtful, but hard as nails when it comes down to it. And Saru is learning to be that kind of captain. He hasn't quite figured out the balance between I am all about figuring things out and how to when to be like the buck stops here, as indicative. I mean, he's had Giorgio to lean back on as indicative of that second episode where he like tried to negotiate and things went on, completely south. And had Giorgio not shown up and saved the day, things would have gone critically bad. However, Tilly here, I feel like she strides the gap between that Picard style and what I have to call the Kirk style, which is like you're a poker player,
Mm.
It's not chess, it's a gamble. It's about posturing, it's about bluffing, it's about having the confidence. Now, is her confidence all the way locked in? I don't think so. But my confidence in her is all the way locked in.
All right.
And that's all. No, I mean, listen, we'll see. We'll see in the next episode. I'm sure she's going to have her come to Kalish moment. But I think that in the end, it's going to be Tilly needing her first officer, who I'm assuming will unofficially be Michael, to tell her that you belong, reiterate what she said earlier in the episode, you belong in that chair. It's not the captain who's great when things are easy, but the captain who's great when things are hard that makes the greatest captain. Kapla.
Kapla!
That's all I'd say.
Yeah, that is fair.
Yeah, I mean, totally reasonable. But we'll see. Maybe she's going to fall apart. That would really break my heart, though, because I feel like Tilly should be made stronger from this experience. And I don't think Ossyra's punching at her up, at her weight class. I really feel like Tilly has, like, Ossyra's is psychotic, I guess, but she's not even close to Giorgio level.
Giorgio levels up. Really? Oh, I don't know. I'd love to see those two face off. I think that'd be a
I
great
don't think that
episode.
would be that doesn't seem like a real fight. It would be fun.
Ah.
But Giorgio, it's only fun if Giorgio is having her weird like episodes and passing out, because otherwise Giorgio murders everyone. Oh boy.
Shall we move on?
That would have been nice. It would have been nice if Giorgio was still there and she could have faced off with Ossyra. But I think this was a Tilly moment.
Yeah.
We needed this Tilly time, if you will,
Indeed.
for Tilly to face off. The crew is in her hands. Culber, I hope he doesn't die. And final theory. I'm not going to use my keyboard to play tinfoil time, but obviously I'm not. I said
I
no.
know. I'm just annoyed you still haven't sent it to me yet.
Listen, still 2 episodes left. Let's get down to the theory.
We're nearly done the whole season, and I haven't got tinfoil.
Well,
time
listen,
as
it's
a
not my
side
fault.
effect.
These series are 12 episodes long instead of 26. Okay, so Adira has beamed down to the surface and has not returned, and this weird planet is like planet hologram dilithium radiation nebula is able to turn Su'Kal's fears into an actualized monster. Therefore, is Adira going to be able to turn Gray into a real, for lack of a better word, entity, person, a human? Well, Trill. Do you know what I mean?
Why are you Don't tap your
Adira's
thing
still
like
there.
that.
I'm thinking.
Well, don't do that by your microphone. I have to edit this shit out.
Well, I stopped. If Adira is there, well, it was while I was waiting for your answer. Now you'll know right there to just cut in and say, Aki, you're totally right about everything. Your theories are great.
Aki, you're totally right about everything. Your theories are great.
Wow. It's on the record. I don't think that's going to make it to the final.
Correct.
Fine. Well, when I am one day validated in all things, I will gloat. Anyway, I do think Gray is going to have some sort of manifestation.
Okay.
Because Adira is carrying Gray as a mental projection or whatever.
Curious theory. I'm interested. Aki, you might be right.
Fine. It's no fun if you just
if I just agree with you.
just give up. Yeah, pointless.
I don't know what's going to happen with Gray. I'm not sure. There was not enough of an opportunity to see Gray in this episode to be like, oh.
But the only thing they set up was Gray being like, I don't know how to be because I'm not a person. I can't interact. You're the only one who can see me.
Gray's like a ghost.
But now Adira is down on the planet with Gray Ghost, where things that are in your mind can become real and people can fall up.
I thought that was just a hologram.
What? The monster?
Yeah. It's all a program.
Yeah, but how was the monster made?
Program. It's a hologram. Somehow I thought this was a holodeck program. That was how I
Yeah, but I don't
interpreted it.
know. I think my theory is that the monster was created by Su'Kal. Their whole theory is that he caused the burn. He's able to interact with this computer. He's interacting with reality in a screwed up way.
Yeah, but is it not?
You think his mother, Dr. Isa, made a monster for him in the program that's supposed to raise him?
To keep him in the program and not let him out. There was some sort of safety within this program that he wouldn't get from outside of it.
The monster was going to keep him inside?
Yes, because that's the only thing keeping him inside.
No, what's keeping him inside is no.
Because he get the totem pole thing. If he does the totem pole thing, and he faces the monster, then he gets out. And that's what they said to Saru.
Well, they said then he would be able to go. He has to face his fear. You think his mother set up?
Yes, she set up this thing so that he wouldn't have to face his fear, so he wouldn't leave until people came to get him. Am I right? I think I'm
No,
right.
That
I
seems
think I'm right.
very
No,
in Kelpian,
well,
inhumane.
really. I think we'll find out next week that I'm right. And
Well, if
I'm
you're
not so
right,
right.
then
I'm right.
you're right. But if I'm right,
all right.
then I'm
You get to be right a lot in this program.
That's because I say every theory that's possible.
That's true.
That's the key. You got to really spread your theories out. Okay, I think it's time for quotes.
Thank goodness. Quotable moments.
What's the favorite quote?
Mine was, "You will not have this ship, not now, not never, no."
Well, that's
Not
what
ever.
I wrote. I
Not
wrote that one
never.
down.
No.
Well, you stole mine. I guess I could have used the
Sorry.
psychology one, but that one wasn't as dope as you will not have the ship. You will not take the ship or anyone on it. Not now, not ever, no. Otherwise, not a lot of crazy quotes. Well, listen, it was a great episode. We have 2 episodes left. We might as well get into next time.
Let's do it.
Next time on Set Phasers.
Excellent. Next time on Set Phasers, we will be discussing the penultimate episode of season 3. It is entitled, this is confusing, it is entitled The Good of the People, which I confused for episode 3 title, People of Earth, every time I try to read it. But it's entitled The Good of the People. It is directed by none other than Frakesy himself. So hopefully I think that means that we're going to get a lot of fun fisticuffs and battles and stuff like that on the show. But I don't know. So hopefully we'll see you here for the next 2 episodes, because the season's going to end in catastrophe, heartbreak, or victory and heartbreak, I guess. All right. Thank you very much for joining us. If you enjoyed the program, you
On
can
that
catch us.
positive note,
Well, listen, victory and heartbreak, that's how you keep them coming back. No one wants songs that are like, hey, everything worked out great. Okay, so thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed the program, you can catch us every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook Live, or as a podcast every Monday, wherever podcasts come from. Steph is dancing and I'm trying to read copy. Please subscribe and review us. All right, your turn.
thank you. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Set Phasers Podcast. Don't forget to feel free to follow us and join in the conversation of all things Trek. And you do the support us thing.
If you...
because next week is our Netflix party.
Oh, we haven't even discussed what we're going to watch, but if you want to support us on our continuing mission to discover what Discovery has in store for us, we'd only be delighted. You can patronize us. We can take it by going to patreon.com/setphasers. Oh, and so, so next, if you sign up, then next week you get to be part of we're doing like a Netflix party or
watch
whatever
party.
it's called, teleparty now. Watch party.
We have lots of nerds join us. We watch an episode together. We comment on it. We just have a ball, really. We nerd out together.
We usually wind up watching
Yeah.
2 episodes. We're only supposed to do 1. We almost every time we're like, 1 more?
We like to over-deliver.
I don't know what we'll watch. I don't know that we need to discuss this right now, but it's going to be something from Star Trek.
Naturally. Well, until next time, probably next week, we'll figure it out. I'm Steph Mans.
And I'm Aki Burmese, and this has been Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Computer. End program.